the story unfold. The Gold Giraffe audio notes with Gold.
Peace and blessings, family. Welcome to episode 11 of the Gold Giraffe audio notes. If this is your first time listening, my name is the Gold Giraffe, but you can just call me Gold. This podcast is an extension of my life and creative framework, Grand Vibrational Design, a space where we explore how alignment, art, purpose, and inner structure dictate how we navigate in this world. You don't need to go back to each episode and catch up. Every single conversation we have here stands on its own foundation. And speaking of foundations, before I even jump into the main topic today, I gotta keep it 100 with y'all and tell y'all what's happening behind the mic right now. I'm sitting here on my lunch break at work, y'all, recording this entire episode on a pair of $10 headphones. $10. No high-end studio setup today, no soundproof booth, no polished rig, just me, a 30-minute break, and these cheap earbuds. Because for a long time as creators, we fall into this trap where we think we can't speak until the presentation is flawless. We wait for the perfect gear, the perfect lighting, the perfect environment, because we want the outside of the process to look clean. But sometimes we spend way too much energy worrying about how the presentation gonna look from the street that we delay the actual message sitting on the inside. And that right there is the heart of what I wanted to talk about today, y'all. Today, we talking about design. And I don't mean graphic design or sound design. I'm talking about the design concepts we use for the interior space of our actual lives. To really get into what I mean, I gotta take y'all back like I often do. It's time me going back to like the 5th or 6th grade. So yeah, I was born in the 1900s, but those 2000s, that's what really made me who I am. And if you were around during that time, you already know. Nelly and the St. Lunatics just dropped their song Air Force Ones. And that wasn't even just a track. That was the entire culture. Everybody wanted a fresh, crisp, all-white pair of Air Force Ones. Now, my mama, she worked at a shoe store at the time, but her store didn't carry Air Forces. So while all the other kids were stepping around in fresh Nikes, I was out here finding my sweet spot in shoes like K-Swiss or whatever else was on the rack. Look, I was probably the first kid in my grade to get hit with a... What are those? It was rough out here, man. But then, my cousin blessed me. Shout out to my cousin. He had an old pair of Forces that he didn't want anymore. And when he handed them over to me, I was blown away because they looked brand new. No scuffs, no stains, immaculate. There was only one catch though. My cousin wore a size 7. And at the time, I wore a size 6. Now a whole shoe size difference when you're a kid is huge. I put them on and my foot was just floating in there. They were floppy and just like, There was like a whole inch of empty space in the toe box. But my 11-year-old mind said, nah. We gonna make this work. I ain't passing up on these Air Forces. So I came up with a plan. I took a big wad of tissue paper, wrapped the paper towel around it, and jammed it way down into the front of the shoe just to plug that 1-inch gap between my toes and the end of the leather. And you know what? I slipped my foot back in, and it actually worked. From the outside looking in, I was a big stepper. I walked in school next morning with my head held out, singing the lyrics in my head. Give me 2 pair, I need 2 pair, big boy, I'm stepping in my Air Force Ones. On paper, on the sidewalk, I looked great. People saw those shoes and was like, okay, he got them. But on the inside, my toes, they were cramped and curled up inside that toe box. Y'all, every single step I took, my foot was pressing against this hard, uncomfortable ball of wadded-up paper. My feet was so sore by lunchtime, I couldn't even run right at recess. And on top of that, I was so obsessed with maintaining the illusion that I was cleaning them every night with a toothbrush, washing off any little speck of dirt, just making sure there wasn't a single crease. Hurting my own feet every day for a pair of hand-me-down shoes that didn't even fit who I actually was. And that story, that right there, that's a direct metaphor for how many of us live our lives as artists, creators, and professionals. We are obsessed with curb appeal. Think about a house on a residential street. We throw so much energy into the exterior. We cut the grass, we wash the siding, we paint the front door, so that when people drive down the block, they look out their window and say, okay, look at that place. They really got it together over there. In our lives, curb appeal is the curated profile picture. It's the aesthetic feed. It's the list of accomplishments on paper, the link in bio, the highlights, the fresh fit. It's making sure the outside looks flawless so when society judges us from the street, we pass the test. But most of us ain't living on the sidewalk. After every event is over, after the gallery showing closes, after the podcast drops or the group project gets turned in or the big show ends, the performance stops. Every single one of us has to go back inside of our own house. And when you walk through the front door and close it behind you, what does it actually feel like inside? Because when I take my shoes off at night, I'm not thinking about how clean the leather looks from 3 feet away. I'm thinking, how do my feet actually feel right now? Are they cramped? Are they blistered? Am I walking in alignment? Or am I causing myself internal pain just to look good from the street? On paper, a lot of us look incredible. If you add up your goals, your talents, your resources, and your potential, on paper, you are a masterpiece. But off script, in the quiet hours, the interior space feels chaotic, unaligned, and exhausted. We spend all our time on the landscaping and zero time on the indoor maintenance. Notice what design actually is. If you look up the origin of the word design, it comes from the exact same Latin root as the word designate. To designate means to mark something out with intention, to set a space apart for a specific sacred purpose. Design wasn't given to us just to slap cheap paint on the surface to distract people. Design is the art of designating the space where real function and life can happen. And in design systems, there are 2 rules that hit hard when you apply them to life. One is good design is honest. And 2 is good design is as little design as possible, like less but better. Look, honest design, it never tries to make something seem more valuable or more powerful or more innovative than it actually is. It doesn't make promises on the outside that the internal structure can't keep. So ask yourself, fam, how much of my life is built on dishonest design? How much time am I spending stuffing paper towels in my shoes, trying to make people think I fit into a size, a status, or a persona that I haven't actually grown into? And if good design is less but better, what internal clutter do you need to throw out of your house today so your soul can actually breathe? Why do we build homes in the first place? We don't just build homes for physical shelter from the rain. Listen to this quote from one of my favorite YouTube channels, The School of Life.
Our homes have a memorializing function, and what they're helping us to remember is, strangely enough, ourselves. Home means the place where our soul feels that it has found its proper physical container.
Your inner life is supposed to be that exact same sanctuary. When you go out into the world, you're constantly surrounded by status anxiety, performance, judgment, and competition. Your inner house is supposed to be the anchor, a place that reminds you of who you actually are when nobody is watching. So, how do we fix it? You don't redesign a broken life by making one massive, overwhelming jump. You do it through indoor maintenance, room by room. For example, fix the foyer. Put a filter on what you let through your front door. Stop letting every comment, every status anxiety, or every random opinion come sit in your living room. Or how about this? Fix the living room. Create negative space. Stop booking every single hour of your day with performance. Leave empty corners where you can just be. Or how about this? Fix the foundation. Deal with the internal cracks, the unspoken fatigue, and the spiritual dryness instead of painting over the drywall. Look, curb appeal is fine. Excellence matters. Make your art look good. Put effort into your presentation. Drop that podcast episode, even if you're sitting at work on your 30-minute lunch break holding a $10 pair of headphones. Because the tools don't make the space, the intention does. But as you build, stop stuffing tissue paper in your shoes. Stop forcing yourself to walk in an image, a lifestyle, or a timeline that doesn't actually fit your spirit. Because at the end of the day, y'all, I would much rather walk comfortably in a humble pair of K-Swiss that actually fit my feet than hobble around in somebody else's size 7 Air Force Ones. No shade to my cousin, though. I still appreciate that blessing because take care of your indoor space. Fix what's leaking on the inside and design an internal life that feels just as good to live in as it looks on paper. Yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. Appreciate y'all listening. This is episode 11 of the Gold Giraffe audio notes. My lunch break is just about over, so I got to get back to work, y'all. But catch y'all on the next one. Much love. It's the Gold Giraffe. Peace.